A war of words brewing between Indiana Congressman Mike Pence and Pennsylvania Governor Ed Rendell over government spending and borrowing. Watch this.
When it comes to more borrowing, the answer is no. When it comes to more spending, the answer is no.
When they say no borrowing, no spending, no investment, they're writing out a prescription form for this country becoming a second-rate power.
They are both with us right now, appearing for the first time since making those comments. Good morning to Mike Pence and to Ed Rendell.
Good morning, Gretchen.
Morning.
All right, so let me start with you, Mike, because you were the ones at CPAC who said, listen, the Republicans have been labeled as the party of no, and, you know, actually, you're kind of right, at least on spending.
Yeah. Well, look, the American people are tired of the borrowing, spending, the bailouts, and the takeovers. And, you know, what I said at CPAC last week and was met with great approval is, you know, I think no is way underrated here in Washington, D.C. Sometimes no is exactly what this city needs to hear. And, you know, as we see this administration and congressional Democrats' plans to do more borrowing, more spending, more deficits, more debt to finance more takeovers, the American people want us to hit the brakes. I think it's why you're seeing the resistance to the tax increases and the takeovers the administration continues to advance, and we're going to continue to be on the side of the American people in that fight.
Right, and the differences in the healthcare summit, the one thing that comes out of it yesterday is this cavernous divide between the two parties. So if the Republicans are labeled as the party of no, it struck me this morning that the perception, Governor Rendell, about the Democrats sometimes is the party of spending dough.
Well, you know, I don't think that's necessarily true. Mike's party, and I think Mike himself, voted against pay-as-you-go legislation, which would require us to, every piece of legislation out of the Congress, have some way of paying for it, either with increased revenue or other spending cuts. They voted no on that. They voted no on the Entitlement Commission, which was a bipartisan commission with two very respected senators who were aimed at reducing the cost of our entitlement programs. So they're the party of no on cutting spending and controlling spending as well. But let me go back to the quote that Mike made at the CPAC convention. I have no problem with no. As mayor and as governor, I've actually been known for saying no to spending, for cutting spending in Philadelphia and in Harrisburg. I'm currently being attacked by a lot of Democratic groups for the budget I proposed because it does continue to cut spending. However, having said that, you cannot make a flat declaration that we cannot spend money and we cannot borrow money, because we need to invest in this country's future. We need to invest in our roads, our bridges, our highways. They're crumbling. We need to invest in our levees and our dams, because they're becoming real public safety nuisances. We need to invest in our ports and our airports to be economically competitive.
Right.
We need to invest in, for example, unemployment benefits, extending unemployment benefits for people who were laid off, no fault of their own. I'm sure Mike wouldn't want to not spend on that. We need to continue to spend on veterans job training programs, so veterans who come back from Iraq and Afghanistan
basically you're
have a
outlining
chance
the
to get a good
stimulus
job.
plan. You're outlining the Democratic points for the stimulus plan. I want to give Congressman
more than
Pence
just a stimulus.
more
than just a stimulus.
Well, I want to give Congressman Pence a chance to respond to that. You obviously don't agree with the governor on that kind of spending.
Well, look, come on. And I think the governor's a decent guy. Yeah, we just fundamentally disagree on this. I do like the artful move, though. It's kind of like the president likes to put up a straw man that conservatives that would like to see us head back toward balanced budgets and fiscal discipline are anti-government. You know, Governor, you said that I was against spending. I'm not against spending. I'm against more spending, more deficits, more borrowing, more bailouts. And I think the overwhelming majority of the American people are against those things. This administration has sent a budget to the Hill with a $1.6 trillion deficit. I mean, Governor, you know, as you said, in your career, you've made the hard choices. Nobody in Washington, D.C. is making the hard choices, the choices that families and small businesses and family farmers are making. And I think that being willing to step into the gap and say that it's time for Washington, D.C. to begin to practice the fiscal discipline and fiscal responsibility responsibility that Americans are practicing during these difficult times is imperative. Also, let's remember, you know, the Democrats love to use the word invest. Well, I'd like to see the American people have more of their tax dollars to invest, you know, and not always use the word invest when government's borrowing money from overseas to invest in the economy today.
All right, I got to wrap it up here, but I'm so glad that we could bring the two of you together after what happened.
Before you wrap it up, I just want to say one thing.
What, Governor?
Mike, I think you need to tell the American people, if we're not going to invest in rebuilding this nation's infrastructure, what's going to happen to our economic competitiveness, to public safety, our bridges, our roads, all of those things. We have to invest to fix those things and make them better.
It's a good point, Governor. And
we can do it in a fiscally responsible way.
We're going to leave that up to our viewers to decide.
I agree. Well,
where
let's
they fall,
start working on it.
Right or left. Guys, I got to wrap it up.
Together.
Thanks for being our guest this morning, guys.
You bet.